Folks, welcome into That Betting Show for Wednesday, June 5th, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. He's Teddy Severance. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Donnie Seymour at Right Side VP. We got basketball back in our lives. Teddy, Game 3 of the Finals tonight in Oakland. Questions swirling. We know Kevin Durant's out. How effective will Klay Thompson be if he does take the court tonight? But hot topics of the day, let's start with those first, Teddy. The Marlins, 16 runs versus the Brewers. Teddy, they gave up 0. 3 straight games with 9 runs or more. The team we laughed at, we joked at. They can't get base hits. Teddy scoring in bunches.
Yeah. The Marlins have flown over the total by themselves in each of the last 3 ball games. Look, they're 12-5 after a 10-31 start, making money for everyone who's been backing them. First baseman, Garrett Cooper. Well, first baseman outfielder, Garrett Cooper. Quote, "We've been playing well the last couple of weeks, and it's not just one guy doing everything. It's been the pitching. It's been the defense. Guys 1 through 9 driving in runs. If you've been riding Miami during this stretch, you've made a whole lot of money." And the comments coming out of that locker room indicate that's a confident bunch despite their early season struggles.
Hey, Teddy, talk about a little bit of upsets here. You know, we like to get that big ticket in our back pocket. Yesterday, one of the games we did preview was those Washington Nationals, with Strasburg favored by about minus 270 yesterday. Well, how about this? So, you know what? I'm going to take a flyer on a dog with the White Sox. You're sitting pretty, Teddy. You got 5 runs on the board, 5-0, and say, you know what? I'm going to keep this one. And even if you had the first 5 innings, you said, I got a 5-run lead. Teddy, you lost them both in Washington yesterday as they come back with 9 unanswered.
Yeah, I mean, last night was a pretty good night for some of the big dogs. You know, we talked about Miami a minute ago. Philly as a dog. Toronto is a big dog. Detroit as a big dog. Baltimore as a dog. The Chi Sox, not so much, unfortunately. And yeah, you get 5 off Strasburg and you don't even cover the first 5 line. That's a tough beat, but it also speaks volumes about how much better that Nationals lineup has been since they've gotten healthy. Washington scoring runs in bunches right now. Before, Strasburg gave up 5. Nats are losing. Not so in June. This is a hot lineup. Bettors should be aware.
Yeah, Teddy, how are we going to – I mean, look, let's take a look at that White Sox lineup, right? You do. You get 5 off Strasburg, who's been amazing this year. And then you say, you know what? We got 5 already through 2 innings. Imagine the damage we're going to do on this bullpen of the Washington Nationals. They get nothing. And how about yesterday? You talked about the one dog there with the Baltimore Orioles. Taking that nice, easy cruise. If you're – hey, look, man, 9th inning, let's get a couple outs. Let's get out of here. What a nail-biter that ended up being in a 12-11 final, but nevertheless did take down the winning number. Let's take a look at a little bit of NFL action. One of those teams, Teddy, that doesn't get a lot of play, and probably for good reason. 2019 NFL season team preview today on That Betting Show is the Cincinnati Bengals. Yesterday, Teddy, we had a team that's probably, 25-1 or so to win the NFL title. How about today? The Bengals, 125-1 to win the 2019 championship, 66-1 to win the AFC, and their team total right now, a little bit juicy here at 5.5, minus 148 here at DraftKings. The Bengals last year, Teddy, finished up 6-10, 1-5 in the division. Out goes Marvin Lewis. In comes young head coach Zach Taylor. As we take a look, I like the skill positions that they have here. Good wide receivers, good running backs. It's all going to come down to, Teddy, if that quarterback can take the next step here that we've been waiting for the Rocket Andy Dalton. But not a lot to look forward to here. If we take a look at the opening of the season, starting with 3 of 4 road games at Indy, Baltimore, Carolina, and Atlanta, things ain't looking too good, Teddy, in Cincinnati.
No, and of course, I mean, this team was awful last year, and that's why Marvin Lewis finally got shown the door at the end of the season. Minus 0.8 yards per play. Every single time they snapped, their opponents gained almost a yard more than the Bengals did. The rushing was okay. No differential there, 0.0 differential. QB rating, well, for the season, it was 88. Dalton had an 89. Driscoll had an 82. Opponents had 100 QB rating against this formerly good Cincy defense. They can't even blame turnovers. +1 in turnover margin in 2018. One thing is notably different besides the head coach. Last year, one of the top 5 toughest schedules in the NFL. They played a lot of the wrong teams at the wrong times. This year, on paper, based on this year's season win total, the schedule is notably easier, right around the league average. So you talked about Marvin Lewis finally getting shown the door. And now we have Zach Taylor, the Sean McVay disciple. He's only ever called plays for one 5-game stretch in Miami. Dolphins averaged 17 points per game during that span. So a guy who, we like his brain. We haven't seen the results. Okay, you look at some of the other hires, what they've done, because this is a big offseason coaching purge. Now we have Callahan Jr., coming from Bill Callahan's son from Washington, who was the former Raider head coach. He's the third offense coordinator in the last 3 years for Andy Dalton. First time OC. We have a first time defense coordinator in Lou Anarumo. Sorry. He was a DB back coach for the Giants last year. And before that, he was a DB backs coach in Miami. So young head coach, young OC, DC, all first timers. That may be an issue. All right. You look at the offseason acquisitions and look, you bring in a handful of offensive linemen. And look, they need help on the offensive line. Handful of defensive linemen, not a lot of sexy moves. They lose Vontaze Burfict, Michael Johnson, two guys who matter. You draft Jonah Williams in the first round, Drew Sample after that. It's not an exciting roster. And you talk about some of the skill position talent. Look, Andy Dalton has a cap hit of only $17.7 million this year. That's why he's on the team, because he's not making big time quarterback money. But you get what you pay for. Defensively, this team looks a step down. Offensively, I'm not excited. I don't trust this coaching staff. Bengals not high on my list of teams to support heading into 2019.
No, the Brown family ownership there has been brutal over, it's probably since the 80s when they kicked in some salary cap money, but not a lot to look forward to here. We'll see what happens. New head coach, but clearly in that division, Teddy, I think they're on the bottom of the heap of the 4 teams there. Overnight line movers, SPRodds.com, your best place on the internet to check those lines that are moving. First game we're going to look at today, Teddy. Atlanta expected to stay hot in Wednesday versus Pittsburgh. How about yesterday? Taking the lead 1-0, then falling behind 5-1. And those bats came alive in Pittsburgh yesterday. Today, line moving in the Braves' direction. Checking out SPRodds.com with Galveston and Musgrove today, Teddy. Opened up at 108, 118, depending on where you're shopping at, but now we're seeing in the mid 120s here with a total of 9.5. Galsman versus Musgrove.
And I'm a little bit surprised by this move just because Josh Bell, who was named the NL Player of the Month for May, he's been the biggest bat in the single most important bat of the Pirates lineup. He sat yesterday after Monday off, trying to get him 2 days in a row. Clint Hurdle saying, we'll reignite him on Wednesday. So Bell's going to play today, and yet the money's still coming on the road favorite Braves. There's a lot of concerns about the Pirates right now. This is a team that's lost 11 out of 15. They're 3 games below 500 for the first time all year. Musgrave, 2-4 with an 8.10 ERA in 6 May starts, got bombed by the Brewers last time out. His quote, "It's really hard to work when you're behind in the count. I don't get the same swings. That's where it all starts. Then the execution with 2 strikes. I'm getting guys to 2 strikes, then not making good pitches." That's obviously an issue for a Pirates team that isn't getting a whole lot of help from their bullpen of late. Bombed again in yesterday's loss to the Brewers.
Talking about bullpens getting bombed late. How about yesterday, Teddy? The next game we're going to talk about, San Francisco Giants post a big number in extra innings when it entered in the extra innings at 3-3. And how about this one today? Don't be surprised. You're seeing Vargas taking on some prices here, Teddy, at SPRodds.com. Open up at 119, around that 125 range. Now sitting in the 140s. You say, man, Vargas is a terrible pitcher. Not so fast, Teddy. 5 of his last 6 starts, 1 earned run or less. Total of 8.5 here in the Big Apple. Beatty versus Vargas.
Yeah, last time out, tough luck loss. Only gave up 1 run in 7 innings, and that was a season-high 7 innings for Vargas, and that's against a good Dodgers lineup. He's had a good track record against the Giants. As you mentioned, he's in great current form, 1 earned runs or less in 5 of the last 6 starts. And you have San Fran coming off a big extra inning win last night where they pounded out 6. Bad news for total bettors in extra innings in that contest. For Bruce Bochy's 1,000th win in a Giants uniform. Now they get to party in New York last night. Quote, Bochy, "It's a special night with the way we played, came back, tied the game, and how we won it in extras. It's a game I'm sure I'll remember." He was showered with beer after the game. You just wonder if San Fran did a little bit of partying last night. Hence, some of the money coming for the Mets today.
And how about this one, Teddy? Bounce back expected for the Brewers. They were booed off the diamond last night, as we talked about earlier. 16-0 to the Marlins. Now they open up around 220, currently rising to 250 today with a total of 9. Alcantara versus Nelson.
Yeah, Jimmy Nelson, a really interesting story. A guy who got hurt running the bases in September 2017. Missed all of last year. Started out in the minors this year. It's been a long recovery from injury for Jimmy Nelson. And the market's expecting him to cool off that Marlins lineup that I talked about over the total by themselves in each of the last 3 games. 16 runs last night. But Alcantara's an issue here. He's got a really sharp home road dichotomy the last couple of starts. 15 scoreless innings in his last 2 starts at home. Shut down the Mets and the Giants. Only gave up 4 hits during that span. But road outings against the Mets and the Nationals, 9 runs, 14 hits, and 10.2 against the Mets and the Nats. Look, Alcantara's a guy that has some potential, but boy, the market's like Nelson tonight. A little bit more than I do. I could only look at the dog in this matchup.
Yeah, interesting, man. 16-0 Marlins last night. We'll see how they respond back to the game. How about this That Betting Show? Watch what you bet tonight. Finally, as we said at the top of the show, the NBA is back in our lives. Ready or not, here come the Warriors. And the reason we say that, Teddy, Kevin Durant ruled out for Game 3. Kevon Looney out for Game 3. Klay Thompson, basically a game-time decision. We saw him yesterday in that little press workout that they were having where they allowed the press in. He was shooting jumpers, but not moving around all that well. A hamstring injury is certainly going to hamper him. And no surprise yesterday, Teddy, we were doing the show. We were talking 5.5, 6 is the number out there. Overnight, that number gets back to the Warriors, minus 4.5 total of 213.5 money line split, plus 166, minus 185 to win the series currently, Teddy. Raptors plus 230, Warriors minus 285. I'm looking forward to tonight's game, 9 p.m. out in the Bay Area.
Yeah, and every bit of injury info, basically from Monday morning till through today, has all been bad news for the Warriors. You have Kevin Looney, who is now out for the rest of the playoffs, obviously, suffering significant injury. You have Durant, no, he's not good to go. You have Thompson, who initially progressed. At least I thought there was no question he was going to play. Now the quotes are very different. Quote, this is Klay Thompson. If there's any pain, it will be a no-go just because of the position we're in. This could be a longer series, so there's no point in trying to go out there and re-aggravate it and potentially keep myself out of the whole entire finals instead of just one game. So it will be a game-time decision. I really want to be out there. Of course, Thompson's never missed a game in the finals during this entire Warriors run. He's been their Iron Man. Without him, that's a big issue. And now, Golden State, unbeaten at home in the last 2 series. They've won their last 5 finals home games. Obviously, this is a home court that's meaningful. But Toronto, pretty good off a loss in the postseason. They blew out Golden State at Oracle back in December, won by 20 in this contest, and have actually done really well against the spread in Golden State in recent seasons. And, you look at the first 2 games, the expected field goal percentage, 51.9% for Toronto, 51.8% for Golden State, basically even for these 2 teams. One thing that's not getting talked about is Kawhi Leonard and his health. He's getting talked about plenty, but remember, Kawhi was all banged up. There were a lot of concerns about him. Now we're going to talk about Golden State's injuries. Kawhi, he ran only 7 ISOs in Game 2. That's his lowest figure in the playoffs, posted up only 4 times. He might not be 100% either. What happens with Kyle Lowry tonight, I should say. He's just 6 of 20 shooting through the first 2 games, only 11 assists. Yeah, he's done some nice things, drawing charges, screening, making plays on defense, but they need some more Kyle Lowry in this game if they're going to win and cover. Fascinating contest. In a sense, it's a fascinating series because we're so used to this Warriors-Cavs 4 years in a row. Toronto brings a different piece of the puzzle to the equation than Cleveland did. Certainly a deeper squad than the Cavs were. But we'll see if that heart of a champion thing for Golden State comes through tonight. They might be up against it. They're going to need to get big games from as many role players as they can if they're going to cover this number against the Raptors in Game 3.
Teddy, putting you in the GM chair for this game, of the Golden State Warriors, are you playing Klay Thompson, or even we know he's hurt. You don't just respond and say, hey, man, strain my hamstring, I'll be good a couple days later. Do you play him tonight, or do you sit him if you're the GM?
If Klay is 90, 80, 90%, I get him on the floor. Absolutely. Even if he doesn't play major minutes, this is the finals. You're at home. You're in a series tied 1-1. The team that wins the Game 3 wins what? 70, I think it's 78% of the final, 31 out of 38. So I get Thompson in there. Remember, the other issue is that between Games 3 and Games 4 is the only time there's only 1 day rest. Every other game in the entire finals, 2 days rest between games. Hence, Thompson will get his chance to rest up. If I'm Golden State, I play him tonight, but only if he's good enough to go. Obviously, if he's not, if he can't move around, you can't get him on the floor because defensively, they need him every bit as much as they need him on the offensive end.
Let's try a little baseball here, Teddy. Indians try to make it back-to-back versus the Twins. We previewed it yesterday. Were you a Bieber believer? If you were, you cashed that ticket. Now, taking a look at 2 pitchers. unbelievable some of these splits are. Martin Perez, who's reinvented himself, got rocked his last time out. Carrasco, whose numbers look really good, especially his, analytical type numbers, he's gotten rocked. 6 earns in his last 2 runs. So he had 6 earns and then another start with 6 earned runs. This guy has a lot of talent and a lot of arm action, and it just hasn't worked out here. So taking a look at this game today, Indians favored minus 128 total of 8.5 Perez versus Carrasco. Who bounces back here, Teddy?
I mean, it's a huge series for Cleveland. This is a much bigger series for the Indians than it is for the Twins. Terry Francona, quote, when you're playing a team that's ahead of you, you guarantee that if you beat them, they lose. There's a way to go about it. We understand where they are in the standings. We're not completely crazy. There's a way to go about it that's trying to win the game. There's a 10.5 game deficit between the first place Twins and the second place Indians right now. One good thing for Cleveland, Francisco Lindor is healthy and crushing it right now. 412 over his last 8 ball games. For another Francona quote, he hit the ball the other day 3 times to the opposite field with authority. And I think that's a good sign. He needed to get some at-bats, and now he's starting to look like Frankie. Because remember, this Indians offense has been their weakness. Well, the pitching hasn't been great either, but hasn't been as good as expected, and the injuries have certainly have hurt. But they're asking me, why is Cleveland such a disappointment this season? It's because they haven't hit. We're seeing signs now they're starting to hit. Of course, Minnesota's hit all year. A major league high, 111 home runs in 59 games this season. But it was the Indians that hit 4 home runs yesterday, and Perez doesn't have a great track record against this Cleveland lineup. Although Carrasco, he's really struggled in his last few starts. His last 2, giving up 6 runs each time, battered by the White Sox in his last outing, which gives me at least some concern laying any price with the Indians today.
Sure way to slow down the Indians' offense. Said he had me place a bet on those Cleveland Indians. We're guaranteed to score 1 run or none, but you're right. Francisco Lindor leading off the game in the past week. I believe he has 2 leadoff home runs. Means and minor today, Teddy, in our third game that we're going to preview here. Trying to quiet those bats down in Globe Lake. 23 runs scored last night. If we take a look at SBRodds.com, total opened up at 9.5 and 10. Currently 9 at some outlets, but majority there looks like it's actually, you know what, Teddy? Just looking at the updated numbers, it's 9 across the board now. So maybe a slower pace in the game than the Rangers favoring this game with Mike Minor on the mound at minus 170 and 8:05. It's going to be a start today on MLB Extra Innings Live, as we said, from Globe Lake Park. Orioles 19-41 on the season. Rangers 30-28.
Yeah, I mean, the markets don't tend to bet a lot of overs when you have 2 young southpaws that are facing opposing lineups for the first time. It's just how the markets work. The lefties can be a little bit tricky, and obviously we have 2 of them here who have basically, the opponents have no familiarity with whatsoever. Of course, last night's game, 12-11, and a thriller at that. The game ending on a passed ball, strikeout, getting thrown out at first base. Exciting game, no question. When you're talking about 23 runs scored in a almost rally in the 9th. Of course, Brandon Hyde, Orioles manager, nice job by our offense. We had some big nights offensively, and we held on. But you can talk about the starting pitching all you want. These are 2 problematic bullpens. They were problematic bullpens last night. We're certainly talking about 2 lineups that are capable of putting up runs in bunches. Minor's allowed, 3 runs or less in 10 of his last 11 starts. Means has been a bet-on guy, although he is a fly ball pitcher in Arlington, which is something of a concern. No surprise if the Rangers. I like the Rangers' spark last night. No surprise if they bounce back with the victory today, although laying a price with them, they're better teams to lay a price with than Texas.
Talking about laying a price here, Teddy, how about this? We forget that Saturday we have a Triple Crown race ahead here, and looking at sportsbookreview.com, we always have those bonuses getting ready for you. Make the most out of this last Triple Crown race, Teddy. You want to know how to do that? Go to Bovado and sign up with the code BOVBSS20. More information on the link that is currently being listed below right here. Teddy, again, we like these things. If it's free, it's me. We're always here to help you out and give you that added advantage. Belmont, Sunday, last time to get that monster horse race in. Why not, right?
Yeah, and look, the show's free every day, okay? We have sponsors. We'd like you to take advantage of our sponsors' special offer, especially when they're giving you something for nothing. So check it out. What's that promo code? One more time for Bovada.
BOVBSS20, Teddy.
There it is. So take advantage of the offer, please, and thank you.
Absolutely. Off the mic segment, Teddy. Usually we talk a little bit about gambling stuff here. This is just from the fan aspect of us. And I know, Teddy, don't be a fan, bet the numbers, I get it, but we're going to pull back right here and be a fan. To put up the netting or not is the question in Major League Baseball. We've seen it in the NHL over the years, pucks flying in the crowds, doing some damage to, kids and people that aren't paying attention in the advent of this new phone age where some people on their phone between pitches. Now we're seeing it in Major League Baseball. Now, Rob Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, is taking a little easy approach on this because some of the teams have done it already, but others have not. What they're worried about, Teddy, and what not, is the dollars because it's the more expensive seats. People want to get foul balls. They want to be closer to the game and say, I don't want to sit behind the net. So it's interesting. So if I'm putting you in charge here, Teddy, as the commissioner of baseball, do we put the nets all the way down the line? Or is it, hey, you know where you're sitting, guys. You can always sit up higher. You don't have to sit down low and put yourself, quote unquote, in the action.
It's a hard question. I mean, it's legitimately a hard question because having sat behind the netting and having sat without the netting, it's a better experience when you don't have to look through the net. It really is. And when you talk about extending the netting all the way down, for the people who are paying the most for their seats, maybe they don't like that so much. Remember, attendance is down for 26 of the 30 MLB teams, and two of the teams that have the two teams that have a real jump were the two teams that spent $300 million on free agents in the offseason in San Diego and Philadelphia. So you have attendance declining. You're saying, let's take the guys who are paying the most money and make their fan experience not what it was. That's an issue. At the same time, safety's an issue. And look, my kid gets clocked with a foul ball when he's looking down for a minute. I'm going to be freaking out just like you would. So I don't know the answer. Then again, I'm not commissioner of Major League Baseball. Good luck, whatever you decide to do, Mr. Manfred.
Exactly, because we always know, Teddy, money always ends up ruling the day. The same way it does here on That Betting Show, designed to try to put more money in your pocket. Thank you for tuning in for June 5th, 2019, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. Once again, he's Teddy Sobransky. Give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm Donnie Seymour, Rights MVP. NBA Game 3 tonight. Teddy and I will go over the carnage tomorrow. Join us again. Thank you.